Interesting. So now he has moved on to the exploding microphone theory. That's cool. Because I was watching his videos before where he was looking at the necklace physics and how to like replicate those necklace physics, and he was kind of on this other train of thought, and I was like, damn, dude, you're like so close, but not actually on what I think is happening here. And so I'm stoked to watch this now. Because he's like testing ideas. So here, real quick, I'll flash this channel on screen here. Jordan Henshaw, as we were talking about. Drop that subscribe, give him some love. He's putting a lot of work into this, and this is the video you must be talking about. And I am very curious to see what he does here. Obviously, he's looking at the mapping of John Bray. It almost looks like he's using the same algorithms too. That's going to be interesting. Hell. Throw it in for pizza. We're on sushi tonight, homie, but I appreciate it. Thanks for the Aussie bucks. Appreciate it. Pete.
Alright, testing.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Pete Stronach. John, thank you. I think there's more than enough corruption to stop participating. None throw it in for pizza. Shit. Have any integrity, but I appreciate it. Thanks for the Aussie bucks. Appreciate it. Respect. Pete White.
Alright, testing.
Expendable. They really do think of you as just a way to profit. Just tool John. And discard. And it's fucking gross. They're gross. And yeah, it's time to fight back. They're treating you like you're expendable. So you better take it seriously. Keep up the truth, brother. Great chat talking about the Las Vegas Nets. Also, you should change the name of your web app to Receipt Web, because it brings up instant receipts. Yeah, but web is just catchy. Shout out to Gary Web. But yeah, it does bring the receipts, and it's fucking cooking. And we've been cooking it up even better. Cannot wait to give it out to everybody. I'm especially stoked to get it in the hands of a bunch of my friends, my journalist friends, so they can test it out and see how well it works for them and see what features they suggest for it, because the sky is kind of the limit. I love that aspect of building the tools. It's so exciting. Thank you, Ian, for your dedication to investigative journalism. You are the GOAT. The perspective on having intellectual disagreements with friends is something I admire you for. Thank you. I mean, it's just the human angle. It's just like, right? Like, it's very obvious. It's very easy. But maybe it's also a lesson learned over time of learning how to, articulate things in ways that are careful, that keep, feelings out of it, emotions out of it, keep it more direct, to the point, keep the ideas in the middle, and the people as just people. And I think a big part of it is that a lot of people in this industry, a lot of the little bitches in this industry, don't have their emotions in check, because they're just big children, or they've got skeletons in their closet, or they're not legitimate, or they're playing games. And that gets people heated, that gets people angry, that gets people emotional, riled up. And just keep it cool, just calm the fuck down, guys. Everybody calm down. Not a big deal. It's the internet. Yeah, I appreciate it. Baze, thanks for another one, bro. Good to have you here. Did you ask Candace why she didn't call out Erica's lies, especially about Charlie Blood and Andrew Colvett? I felt like Candace missed a big opportunity to officially call her out and a liar. Your thoughts? My thoughts are that when Candace spoke to Erica, she got zero benefit out of putting Erica on the defensive, because it wasn't public, it wasn't on video, there was no record of it, so there wasn't any use in getting Erica to show up. In that instance, the best thing you could do is get her talking and get her to be because then she's putting things on the record, even if it's not on camera, it's on the record. And so the best she could do is just get Erica to speak on everything she can get her to speak on. It's like having a witness on the stand. What you want is for them to just start talking and not plead the fifth. But if you start coming at her super hard, she might start pleading the fifth. She might start treating you as a hostile interrogator. And you might not get as much on the record, right? And if you watch Candace's style is very much informed by the potential pitfalls in this industry, potential traps. And she's learned over time, as I'm learning, as we're all learning, that in the long run, you're better off not trying to push any one theory. You're better off not trying to commit yourself to that must be right, but instead just asking a lot of questions and get as much on the record as you can, because then they trap themselves in their own maze of lies. And we are seeing a whole lot of lies, all spread out, that just don't compute. When you put two and two together, they just do not compute. And everything that comes out of Erica's mouth just makes it compute less and less and less. They're running into you Y day at the taco spot. What's up with Nick? I think what you're saying is you're the homie that ran into me yesterday at the taco spot. It was good to see you, homie. It was good to meet you. That was cool. I was out with tacos, and a homie was driving by, and was like, "Yo, Ian, we're watching you right now in the car." And he got stopped and got out and said hi for a second. It was cool. Total homie. I think that's what you're saying. What's up with Nick? Do you think they have something on him? Also, have you looked into the Boston Marathon? Lots of tinfoil. I've not really looked into the Boston Marathon because it was before I was doing this job, and it's kind of back in history now. There is a lot of tinfoil around it. There was, what was it? I think there was bomb threat drills being run the day before or something. Awfully suspicious. But, what do I think is up with Nick? I don't know. But I know it's weird. I know it's super weird. And everyone has always had a lot of suspicions about him. And I personally was always like, but it was once I gently nudged him about his stance on Charlie Kirk, and the response that I received was super weird. And his silence on the whole thing, immediately he realized he was fucking not even done. And his every response he gave just dug his hole deeper and deeper. He literally made a response like, "Oh, you're retarded, and I know what's up. And what's up is that the skin ricocheted the bullet." He literally cited the gravy guy, the French guy, whose theory is that it didn't hit the bone. The 30-06 bullet bounced off of Charlie's neck skin. It's like, Nick, what the hell are you doing? And so it's like, I'm not going to speculate on Nick's skeletons in his closet or on what might be going on with Nick, other than to say, you should think really carefully about who you get your information from. And you should not just trust me, you should not just trust Nick, you should not just trust any one person, you should think of yourself very critically. And to me personally, anytime that someone tells me that they're right and only their way is right, and that they're the guardian of information, they're the gatekeeper of information, they're the only true opinion, and everyone else is lying, that's a red flag. That's a red flag to me. And especially when it comes to Israel, and someone who's like anti-Israel being like, I'm the only one that can say what we against Israel are going to think. Red flag. Huge red flag. Sorry, bro. No. Nope. 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 Ain't no one the arbiter of what we're supposed to think about Israel. Any of that shit. No, sir. Think for yourself. Come up with your own ideas. And think very critically. Because I can't think of any space that more desires a controlled opposition, a controlled opinion space than Israel. And I'm not saying that Nick is that. I'm saying that Nick should know that. And for Nick to run the talking point of ain't no interlopers coming in here to tell us how to think. We all think this way. We all think this way about it. And about the Jews. You can't stray from them. Yeah. That's either a cult or it's controlled opposition. But it ain't free thought, it ain't intelligent, and it ain't a good move. So that's what I think. Is think for yourself, and don't trust anyone on the internet. Just think for yourself. Las Vegas shooting, taxi driver footage. Search for it at the Internet Archive, timestamp 45 seconds to 105. Should be quite self-explaining. Fuck lies. I think I'm not sure which taxi driver footage. I have seen some pretty interesting taxi driver footage from that night. check and make sure I know what you're talking about. Thanks for the Euro bucks, homie. I'm gonna see if there's any other big ones up there to catch. One more for Gigi. Damn, Gigi. Well, tonight, Stacy out here funded filet mignon for the Gigi. Hey, Gigi. Stacy just bought you filet, dog. Yeah, we're gonna go get you some fresh filet with this street. Yeah, she's getting bored over here. She's like, here, Gigi, what you treat? Here, Stacy. We'll tide her over with some liver, with some desiccated liver too. Gigi, go lie down. Go. Driving for Lyft while listening? Hell yeah. Bro, I was an Uber Eats driver. That's how I made the jump from the service industry, cooking in restaurants, to content creation. Because I got out of cooking and I spent like a year driving Uber Eats so that I could manage my own schedule and I could work when I wanted and I could edit in the car and like when I'm waiting for rides. And I just forced it. I was like, I'm done with this. I'm out. I'm out of this industry and I'm just going this way. Because I just couldn't do it. But I really actually enjoyed driving Uber Eats. It was a lot of fun. Played my own music, moved around, didn't get a single speeding ticket because I always drove the speed limit. And yeah, I had a great old time while it lasted. Glad I didn't have to go much further though because my car freaking blew up by the end of it. But you know, it got me just where I needed to go. Literally, my car that I actually showed on stream a while back, the painted Subaru that I drove around it. Lived out of for a long time. That Subaru took me all the way, and then it literally overheated and just like basically blew up. The week, I think it was like the day before or something. I got my first TikTok paycheck, and it was very emotional. I'm pretty sure I cried over that car because it had literally like delivered me to the finish line, being like, "I got you, bro. Here you are. You made it. I'm fucking dead." And it was over 300. It was like almost 300,000 miles on that car, and I had driven it into the dirt, and then that was it. That was all, and I didn't have to drive Uber Eats anymore because TikTok was paying me super well. So, rest in peace to the Subaru. It was a legend. Okay. We're gonna take a break from the Supers now. We'll come back later. We'll get ready for July. More than halfway through here, folks. More than halfway through, and we're not even at 7 hours. We're doing good. We might be out of here by midnight. Shit. 2025 ain't that hard. It ain't that hard. I mean, how many conspiracies were there? How many conspiracies even were there this year? Ian should be in Hollywood and Westerns? Hell no, brother. Nah, dog. Fuck all. Dude, not a chance. So where are we? Where's my mouse? We just watched that Epstein segment earlier. That's the Epstein segment again. Cool. We're gonna speed up a little bit because I got really busy on other things once we got to this part. And I was traveling around a lot, and I was starting to build fire and stuff. And I've got some other news loaded too. Yeah, we're just gonna have a quick stop through July. We already watched this piece about fucking Epstein. Because this was around the time when Shepard all brought up, we still talking about this creep Epstein? Really? Still covering it up. Cash Patel is saying, no, there's no evidence. No, actually, what, Cash Patel, Joe Rogan. What month did Cash go on Joe Rogan? June. It was June when old Cashy boy went on Joe Rogan. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Classic. June 6th. That was atrocious. But it made for some crazy memes, that's for sure. And it was in July that Israel planning for forced transfer of Gaza's population, a blueprint for crimes against humanity. Military ordered to turn ruins of Rafah into humanitarian city. Humanitarian. But experts call the plan an internment camp for all Palestinians in Gaza. Just shuffling through all the most inhumane things you can do. The most moral army. And more people were waking up. More and more people were like, what the fuck is going on? And the starvation mounted into all-out famine. They blocked aid for a record number of days. It was like 70 days or something like that in total by the time it ended. I started demoing Fire. We'll come back to that in a second. Israel is the issue that will bring the left and right together in the middle in 2028 and save America from this parasitic relationship. One can dream. We can hope. We can hope and we can dream. But July was the month when Charlie Kirk told Tucker to go Max. July was the month when the TPUSA Florida event happened, and Charlie Kirk told Tucker to go Max on Epstein. And he did. And right after that, the Google Trend results for everything related to the Charlie Kirk assassination blew up all across his country. And later on, in the DC area. And then, SUBTT, Egyptian flight, flew through Paris into the United States, and Macron's lawsuit dropped right in the middle of that. Just thought I would mention it. I'm gonna let Tucker roll here for a second while I go to the bathroom real quick, and then I'll bring up some more news stories for us from July to get us to set the stage, really, for getting into the turn of the whole year, of the whole nation, of everything.
I don't like to vote because I don't believe in any of them. And this time I really felt like I know Trump well, I love Trump personally, and what we were looking at was just so awful and totalitarian and stupid. And it wasn't even the arguments that I disagreed with from the Kamala Harris. It's weird to even say her name now. What was that exactly? It's like a bad dream. But it wasn't even so much the arguments I disagreed with, though I definitely disagreed with the arguments. It was the style of argument that drove me completely bonkers. Summarized most crisply by shut up racist. Whatever you said was shut up racist, it's like, well, wait, first of all, I'm not a racist, but that's not even the point. The point is, I just told you what I think. I just asked you an entirely legitimate question, mostly, what the hell are you doing? And rather than answer it, you didn't pay me the respect that you would a human being. You treated me like a slave or an animal by telling me to stop barking. Shut up, racist. And I won't put up with that because I'm not a slave or an animal. I'm an American citizen, an adult man who pays his taxes. So, I ask people questions for a living, and very often I get answers that I don't care for, that I disagree with, that I think are stupid. But at least they're answers. At least the person responding is treating me like a human being with a soul created in the image of the Creator. He's paying me the respect that every human being is due. When you ask a direct question to someone in charge, you are due. That person is morally bound to give you an answer. He's not bound to agree with you, but he's bound to stop and answer your question. And the left never did that. They would dismiss you out of hand. You are not worth listening to. Be quiet. And that's, of course, where the impulse to censorship comes from. It comes from the belief that you don't deserve to speak because you're not fully human. They own you. And that's what I voted against above all. I voted against a million different things that I hated about the last administration. Their insane desire to start pointless wars around the world. Their total unwillingness to protect this country domestically, to protect the people who live here, to protect question about why they were doing what they were doing. Because it was just too insulting. And every single time I would just feel like raising the middle finger and screaming obscenities, which is not an adult response, I'll concede, but that's how I felt. And I think that's really at the heart of why the Epstein thing is so distressing. And the guy was some weird sex freak who was abusing girls. We knew that. But the fact that the U.S. government, the one that I voted for, refused to take my question seriously and instead said, case closed, shut up, conspiracy theorist, was too much for me. And I don't think the rest of us should be satisfied with that. And by the way, let me just say really quickly, because I was so mad about it that I think I found out part of what's going on. I think we are going to find out more. And I think the truth, for whatever it's worth, in case you're interested, is that the DOJ didn't release lots of incriminating sex videos with Epstein and his billionaire pals because they don't have them.
They don't. But they do have an awful lot. An awful lot. On an awful lot of powerful and important people, they have an awful lot of binders of images that they have to redact things from. They do have an awful lot of men who they felt the need to redact. They do have an awful lot of failed redactions. They do have an awful lot of what they themselves label as ceasing. Like hundreds and hundreds of them. In binders like this, collected, they do have all sorts of photographs, all sorts of photo shoots, all sorts of albums, just from one house. One house that they only partially were able to raid. They do have a whole bunch of passports, one of them fake, at least. They do have an entire archive of photos with all sorts of powerful men, people that are very much still relevant, people in all sorts of industries all around the world. They've got a lot, as in no evidence, as in we don't even know, as in there's no files at all. We know by now that there are lots of files on lots of people, all sorts of people, and we don't necessarily know who's guilty of what. Because they decided not to investigate it. But I thought I would just pop in here to remind us all of just how much evidence we have. And this is barely even scratching the surface. Barely. This is just a cursory look at the network and at the files. And this is the TPUSA stage.
They don't have them because when the original search warrant was served in 2007, I think possibly 2006, 2007, it was basically designed to protect Epstein. The search warrant was written in such a way to make sure that the feds never got their hands on the actually incriminating evidence. It's another way of saying the cover-up has been going on since 2007, almost 20 years. So the real question is not, was Jeffrey Epstein a weirdo who was abusing girls? Yes, we can answer that. The real question is, why was he doing this, on whose behalf, and where did the money come from? Those are the questions that need to be answered. And I think it's entirely fair to ask them. And it's not adequate to say anyone who asked them is somehow desecrating the memory of little girls who died in Texas. They're not going to put up with that answer. I don't care who gives that answer. That is not acceptable. And I think the real answer is Jeffrey Epstein was working on behalf of Intel Services, probably not American. And we have every right to ask on whose behalf was he working. How does a guy go from being a math teacher at the Dalton School in the late 70s with no college degree to having multiple airplanes, a private island, and the largest residential house in Manhattan?
By being a Jewish pedophile that was really good at laundering money and was willing to do just about anything to achieve power and wealth. And his sadistic desires. To be blunt, that's how. That's how he did it, anyways. And by being selected by the network that was looking for just such a person.
Where did all the money come from?
Leslie West.
And no one has ever gotten to the bottom of that because no one has ever tried. And moreover, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into
Just for saying,
thinking that that's naughty.
this is TV USA in July. The night after Dave Smith obliterated Josh Hammond.
There is nothing wrong with saying that. There is nothing hateful about saying that. There's nothing anti-Semitic about saying. There's nothing even anti-Israel about saying that. I've spent my entire life pretty much in Washington, where I knew and loved a number of people, including one very close person who worked at CIA. That has never prohibited me from saying, I think the CIA has done some horrible things. Murdered a bunch of people, participated in the murder of a sitting U.S. president. It's got a whole trail of crimes. That doesn't make me a disloyal American. It doesn't make me anti-American in any sense. I was born here. My family's been here for hundreds of years. I love this country. That's why I live here. So criticizing the behavior of a government agency does not make you a hater. It makes you a free person. It makes you a citizen. You are allowed to do that because you're not a slave. You're a citizen. And you have a right to expect that your government will not act against your interests, and you have a right to demand that foreign governments not be allowed to act against your interests. That's not creepy. It shouldn't be forbidden. And yet all of us have trained ourselves to believe that you can't say that somehow. That that's like too naughty and forbidden. And the effect of making that off limits has been to create a lot of resentment, and I'll say it, hate, online. Where people feel like they can't just say, like, what the hell is this? You have the former Israeli prime minister living in your house.
Yeah.
You have
And the former head of Israeli military intelligence, too.
got all this contact with the foreign government. Were you working on behalf of Mossad? Were you running a blackmail operation on behalf of a foreign government? By the way, every single person in Washington, D.C. thinks that. I've never met anyone who doesn't think that.
This is a common sentiment, especially around Tucker. Where'd it go? Tucker is like he's an asset. He's just letting the steam out of the teapot. That's not how steam works, bro. Progressing the conversation directly into he worked for Israel. He worked for Israel and for Israeli intelligence. That's not letting the steam out of the teapot when it's on this kind of stage. That's directly progressing the conversation forwards. That is an unacceptable thing to say. And Charlie Kirk got a lot of very uncomfortable phone calls from his donors immediately after this. And we know that. I understand the skepticism about Tucker, and I think it's wise. And, I don't just trust Tucker blindly at all. But I think a lot of people think that there's way more of a mass conspiracy than I think, personally. And obviously, you should probably disregard everything I'm saying because I just appeared on the podcast. But think critically about what this kind of speech does to the average normie in pushing their understanding one step further. This is pushing a lot of people one step closer to watching Europa, or one step closer. And I'm not, honestly, I don't really like Europa because I think that it's too hard to prove most of what's in Europa. It's too ancient history. Not all of it. A lot of it's more recent. But pushing the conversation forwards like this, with the audience and voice that he has, with the connections and friends that he has, that's huge. And Charlie paid the price. Charlie paid the price.
I don't know any of them that hate Israel, but no one feels they can say that. What?
But at the same time, keep being skeptical and keep your opinion. Keep feeling that way. That is totally chill. I just don't. I don't feel that way from where I sit in the industry and what I like.
Right. And I think the longer that we play along with it, the more subterranean and creepy and hateful the conversation actually becomes. So I think it's better just to say it right out loud.
Jeffrey Epstein worked for Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile that was collecting blackmail on behalf of a Jewish network of sickos that was hiding inside of Israel, working on behalf of Israel, but probably in many ways above Israel, above their government. Just like our own deep state is above our government. This is the global network. And clearly, whoever's best at blackmailing is best at the whole thing. They're best at the game. Whoever controls the money and the blackmail rules the game. So, do the math. That's how I'll say it. If we're just going to say it outright, the world is ruled by the black markets. The black markets are ruled by the blackmailers and the money. And those networks are alive and well. They were not Epstein. He was just a node. And he has been replaced. And I think this speech is incredibly significant in so many ways, in so many reasons. And it moves us on to August. Oh, August. How normal the world still seems in August. Right? Just reload all my tabs here. Speaking of Epstein, let's throw some shade at some bank. And we know that Epstein referred a bunch of very high-profile, wealthy clients to J.P. Morgan, but all the publicized names on the list that he referred were referrals made mostly between 2000 and 2003. I actually cringed really hard watching back my podcast with Tommy G, because I forgot Jess Stevens' name halfway through the podcast. Even though I've done a ton of reporting on Jess Stevens, I accidentally said Sydney Whale. And I confused Sydney Whale with Jess Staley. I was like, oh, maybe I'll correct myself. And then I failed to correct myself. I was like, damn, bro. Damn, that was low-hanging fruit, dude. You missed it. You can't always remember everything. It is what it is. But yeah, correction. It was Jess Staley that was Jeffrey Epstein's boy at J.P. Morgan, not Sydney Whale. Sydney Whale was Citibank. Different thing, different scandal. Also kind of seems like a shitbag, but I don't know. Once again, that list included Sergey Brin, co-founder of Google, Larry Page, co-founder of Google, Nick Ribis, former head of Donald Trump's casino empire, Catherine Ruemmler, former Obama White House counsel. That referral was made in February of 2019, by the way. They were very cozy in the emails right before he got caught and died. Ghislaine Maxwell was referred. Glenn Dubin, a billionaire hedge fund manager, was very close to Epstein and was referred to J.P. Morgan. Leon Black, founder of Apollo Global Management. Mort Zuckerman, a real estate billionaire. Thomas Pritzker of Hyatt Hotels. Boris Nikolic, the Gates Foundation science advisor. Larry Summers, the former Treasury Secretary. Prince Andrew. Ehud Barak, the former Israeli Prime Minister. Benjamin Netanyahu, the current Israeli Prime Minister. Lord Peter Mendelsohn. David Gergen, the Sultan of Dubai. Howard Rubenstein. According to the Daily Beast, by 2011, Epstein was considered the, quote, biggest producer for J.P. Morgan's private banking division. And they also referred to him as the advisor to the Google founder. I do kind of miss the style we used to make these videos in. Took forever. But making videos with like prep slides and everything is pretty fucking fire. Not gonna lie. In August, they all committed treason. Again. politicians. On vacation. On summer camp. Go pledge your fealty. Go pledge your fealty to your true rulers, to your overlords. Go dance for money, you stupid goy.
From Ehud Barak, the ex-prime minister of Israel.
And in August, we got massive
massive file leak.
massive confirmation. The Ehud Barak email leak might be the most significant one so far, except for possibly batch 8 of the DOJ files.
It just happened.
You can tell that I've been up like all night. I hadn't shaved. I'm all scruffy.
From Ehud Barak, the ex-prime minister of Israel, one of Epstein's very good buddies. Thousands of his emails were leaked online. And like alternative sources are talking about it, but the mainstream media, totally silent. Radio silence. And I have spent the last, I don't even know how long, just going down the rabbit hole. And I'm about to take you with me. This is just the start. This is just preliminary reporting. There's a lot of files, and just figuring out how to even analyze them has been a whole process. But through that process, working with my buddy over here on one screen and the reports on the other screen, and getting AI involved to write code that would scrape and then combine and then analyze.
By the end of this, we're going to get to how they were surveilling the Hillary Clinton campaign. This is the first form of web. This was the inspiration for making web.
Oh yeah.
And know how far it has come. Jeff Bezos, Bill Clinton, Benjamin Netanyahu, and there's links that will go to email report.
But first, I just want to tell you how we got here.
Because when you actually download the leaked emails, they come from 2 different emails. But when you go into those emails, there is just this whole mess of folders. And in each one, there's more folders with different things. And each of these files is an individual email, right?
We're talking like 50,000 emails or more, each individual files, in all these different folders. How the fuck are we going to analyze this? So lately, I've been playing with AIs in terms of helping find sources, helping dig through complex details and data, and helping get to primary sources. And or in this case, aggregate thousands of email files and turn them all into one file that we can search all at once, because they're not
How
all
far
in
we've
one
come.
place. You can't search them. And like, there's nowhere you can go and type in Peter Thiel and have it find you where Peter Thiel is.
Except that in these email files, it became apparent that Peter Thiel had received a bunch of funding from Jeffrey Epstein's Valor Venture, for his Valor Ventures funds. And, I mean, we kind of knew that from some reporting, but there was more context and clarification in these emails.
So I got on a call with my code wizard buddy. We got on here, he taught me how to use the most basics of Python, and he helped me out and did it with
Crash course in coding, and we wrote out all this crazy code, and like,
it's a long story, we'll skip it.
but we wrote a program that would put them all into one JSON file, and then we got the JSON file, and it's real big. When you scroll through it, it's all of them extracted with critical information retained, like file names and file paths,
Date email was sent, who it's from, who it's to, etc. But now it's searchable, and now we can put AI into them and have AI start scraping through it and be like, find me every instance of this or that, or look for patterns here or there. And that's where we stumbled across something kind of random that at first we thought was a nothing burger. Is in one of the little reports that it made summarizing what it was finding in the files, it mentioned Clinton and the Clinton Foundation and surveillance of the Clinton Foundation. I was like, wait a minute. You're telling me that Jeffrey Epstein and Ehud Barak are communicating behind the scenes about surveillance on the Clinton administration? Please tell me more.
and so then it wrote up. So we're not going to watch this whole thing. I just want to look at the first version of the concept, and then go and look at what it became. What did it become? This is just a little test batch of the Epstein files. Put that away. After playing with new features over here in web. And now I've got them all auto-organizing. And we've got all kinds of different documents in here. We can open them up one by one. It's going all slow. It's like, oh shit, we're doing web now? And I've got them all organized. Popping in and out, popping in and out. I've got an AI chatbot that can help me source specific answers about specific connections and people that he worked with.
We can now thumb through them one at a time. Ask any question we want. Get straight into the files. And notice how over here it's going to the file that we want it to open. If you've been seeing me working on web, you know about this. We've been showing this. We've been sharing this. It's my favorite new project, and we're going to give it out to the world. It's not quite ready yet. But then it also evolved into Charlie Kirk assassination. I've been showing this, where now we've got YouTube transcripts, and we can ask it things about, like, what did Candace report on? What did Charlie Kirk say in his episodes? What did Ben Shapiro say in his episodes? And we can actually pull out specific quotes from various episodes. We can highlight specific chunks in those episodes and save them. If I want to highlight this, I can just go through, highlight it. And I got some highlights here that I can scroll through my highlights. And if I wanted to watch this clip, Burger King crown, you're not getting a Burger King crown, okay? Remember that quote. Click. Where did it open?
Nice Burger King crown. You're not getting a Burger King crown, okay?
That's Coach Collins.
That's for
episode.
the purest of hearts. You don't get that weird.
Yeah, we just opened the exact timestamp in that video. Thank you very much. Gosh, I'm so stoked. I freaking love this thing. I play with this thing all day long. I just build, and then I test, and then I build, and then I test, and then I build, and then I test. And it all started looking like this, just trying to examine the Ehud Barak emails. And God, I love it so much. And it's all coming out to you. Soon enough. Within this month. But the Ehud Barak emails coming out in August was a huge step forward. But remember, it's anti-Semitic to suggest that Israel or Jews control the U.S. government or would ever prioritize the interests of Israel over their own country. Remember that. It's very important to remember. Okay? Okay? This is when they really ramped up propaganda. They ramped up propaganda tours. They ramped up their propaganda spending. And they took a recess to avoid voting on the Epstein files. And instead went over to kiss the wall. Tom Emmer, this week I had the honor of leading a delegation of House members on a trip to Israel with our friends from AIPAC. You fucking traitors. Fucking traitors. And I just thought I'd mention how I wonder about this. I just wonder about it. I just wonder about it. Not making any suggestions, but I always just wonder, like, are you even a hacker if you can't release the Epstein files? I mean, like, where are the hackers? Like, where are they? I wonder where they are, as far as their location goes, you know? You guys see my eyes getting super red from staring at the light on the screen for so long? There's a light right there. Like, whoa, I just looked at myself on the screen. It's like, damn, bro, your eyes are red, dog. And then here's a video that, and it's just so obvious that Charlie has no answer. Because he can't. Because his opinion on Israel is colored by his donor, by an agenda that is not based in facts or America First ideology. This is the video that Harrison Smith would reply to, saying that Charlie Kirk had said to someone who told Harrison that he was afraid Israel would kill him if he turned on him. And this video is of me calling out Charlie Kirk's refusal to debate Nick Fuentes. Oh, how things have changed. In so many directions. In so many directions. It's been a crazy year. We're speeding up a little bit. That's July over there. We skipped over, well, I guess we mentioned the starvation in Gaza a little bit. Here, what we'll do is we'll, no, we'll skip that.
Because in August, Trump and Putin had a summit about Ukraine. Didn't go so hot. Nothing really got done. Stalemate. And Trump deployed the National Guard to D.C. in August, which would set the stage for the D.C. shooting, which no one saw coming at all. Valhalla called it from a mile away. A National Guardsman. Someone's going to get killed. Someone's going to get shot. Someone's going to get hurt. Things are going to escalate. And then that's an excuse for more. And more. And more. But not wrong. Anything else we need to cover? Let's see if this link actually opens. No page enough now. A lot of these links are broken. In August, Israel also announced they were going to be doing a military takeover of Gaza City. And, oh, please open. Jeez, NPR's links are all broken. It was in August that the DOJ released the Maxwell transcripts of Ghislaine Maxwell's testimony, begging for forgiveness, saying that she didn't traffic anyone to anyone. She's innocent. She's just a victim. Poor Ghislaine Maxwell. Gosh, what a poor little Ghislaine Maxwell. August was a rough month. Rough month in August. I think. I gotta get rid of January here. I think we're ready to launch September here in a second, guys. We're speeding up a little bit. Making moves. But I need to clean my desktop up a little bit. That's February. That's still underway. Oh, you know what? I bet that I still need to open my September ones. Do I have my September ones here? I do have my September ones here. Good. This one will let me open October, November, December. This one's a little longer. Oh no, you know what I just did, guys? Oh no. I'm pretty sure that I just closed the super chats. I just closed the super chats, guys. Don't send any more super chats. Because I don't know which ones we read. They're all lost. Whoops. My bad, team. My bad. What I'll do is I'll open a new one and I'll peep the big super chats to make sure we don't miss any really big ones. But unfortunately, that's going to miss all the smaller super chats for us. So I'm sorry if I just missed your small super chats. Because now they're mixed in with so many ones that we already read. Can't reread them all. But I can go and just double check any giant ones and make sure. Well, maybe if I do this. Here, I'll solve it while we peep this video. When you have one of the largest political people in America assassinated on live TV, your first thought should be, was this a professional assassination? And it's not necessarily. There are definitely crazy kooks that take shots at people. Usually, the crazy kooks seem to get an arsenal of guns and go into a school and go on a suicide mission, essentially. And, you know, murder a bunch of people and then take their own life. That's what usually seems to happen. Not usually are they planning out a carefully orchestrated hit that involves them getting away clean and then giving a whole text message admission of guilt on regular old texts. Like, right? Right? Yeah. But I think we should start with initial thoughts because I just want to remember how kind of shocking it was what happened to Charlie Kirk. And in ways that I think most of us didn't expect. Definitely took a lot of us a minute to process what the fuck was happening. Honestly, I don't really know how I feel. Well, no, that's a little fucking lie. I do kind of know how I feel, and it's not good. But there's just like no words to kind of capture it, and I think a lot of it for me is like I don't really know why, like I'm not involved. It's not about me. And like I'm just a dude that talks shit about Charlie Kirk on the side, and maybe that's why it kind of hit me really hard, because our world is full of a lot of judgment. Everyone's judging each other. Everyone is just treating each other like such shit, and Charlie's a super polarizing guy. But X and Twitter and all this shit, this is not real life. And when you go out in real life and you actually meet people, like, unless you're a piece of shit, like 90% of the time, 95% of the time, it's awesome. They're awesome. Like, people are real people out there. And, like, realistically, you'll get along with them. Like, when I go to events and places where you're meeting all these different influencers from every angle of the aisle, like, almost every single one I get along with so good. And Charlie obviously is an example of a guy that, like, even, like, you can disagree with his takes, but, like, if you want to talk about his character, like, I hope that you're an amazing father that's loyal to your wife, that's dedicated, that has faith, that lives by that faith. Like, in order to come at Charlie's character, I would hope that you are living a life more right with God than him, which I doubt you are, because it's hard to find a single man on this planet today that is living a life as right with God as Charlie seemed to be from the outside and from everyone around him saying how it was. Like, that is real respectable in this modern world. The month when everything changed. We have more than enough evidence to be asking the question, was there intelligence agencies involved in this? Way more than enough evidence to ask that question legitimately. And when you start asking that question legitimately, that's how you get to the Israel conversation. And the Israel conversation is not one, no one is claiming at this point that anyone knows for sure that it was Israel. Okay? Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Dave Smith, all of the right-wing commentators that are involved in this conversation that were involved in Charlie's life and the scandal around the Israel stuff, none of them have at all made the claim that Israel was involved in this in any way. I have made that claim because I'm not involved. This is not my case to solve. I was not involved. I didn't know Charlie. I was not involved in Turning Point. I'm staying out of it. I am a dude on the sidelines looking in. I've purposely not asked Candace for any inside information. I've not tried to dig into get a bunch of sources and stuff because I don't want to get in. I don't want to get in there. This is not my thing, and I'm not involved. And I'm perfectly happy to speculate because right away I was asking, is an intelligence agency involved? And a very quick assessment of the scene, of the responses, of what happened on the ground, of Charlie's position in American politics, and the first suspect seemed clear to me. I would argue that since day one, we have gotten more and more and more evidence that maybe we should be looking in Israel's direction. But just a quick primer on why maybe looking in Israel's direction would be appropriate. They have an entire Wikipedia page dedicated to the list of Israeli assassinations. And the reason why they have that, broken down by decade, is because Israel is the world's foremost assassinator. They're the best at it, they do it the most, and they've done it a whole bunch of times just in the last year. One of those was like hundreds of people being assassinated using pagers, with an operation that spanned like a decade and more. I think I'm exaggerating a little bit, but right, like the Israeli intelligence are exceptionally good at assassinations. Okay, so in light of that,
I'll put all those things out there. Yeah. How did these guys not know this was taking place?
so I'm in Israel. This is Charlie Kirk speaking right after October 7th, within 1 week of October 7th on the PVD podcast about what happened on October 7th.
Many times. The whole country's a fortress. When I first heard this story, I still have the same gut instinct that I did initially. I find this very hard to believe. I've been to that Gaza border. You cannot go 10 feet without running into a 19-year-old with an AR-15 or an automatic machine gun that's an IDF soldier. Right? The whole country is surveilled. And so let me just kind of go through this. We don't talk about Israeli politics very often, and most Americans don't know this. The last 9 months, Israel was on the brink of civil war. It's not an exaggeration. This judicial stuff, there were hundreds of thousands.
Whoa. We're going to cut that right there. Let's not talk about, the entire nation of Israel protesting against Benjamin Netanyahu. Charlie, you're supposed to be Benjamin Netanyahu's favorite friend, okay? Just to be clear. That's a little spicy to say, Charlie.
Explaining to do, a lot of decoupling to do, because Jewish donors have been the #1 funding mechanism of radical, open border, neoliberal, quasi-Marxist policies, cultural institutions, and nonprofits. This is a beast created by secular Jews. And now it's coming for Jews, and they're like, what on earth happened? And it's not just colleges. It's the nonprofits, it's the movies, it's Hollywood, all of it. It's like,
That is a pretty based take. That's a topic that, though I have researched and seen evidence of, it's very hard to explain. It's very convoluted. It's very technical, and it's very easy to come across as though you're trying to say that all Jewish people are evil, because it's not. It's a very nuanced criticism of whatever the hell is happening in America right now. And I've avoided it. I've intentionally avoided that topic because it is such a minefield and it's so anti-Semitic. And Charlie just waded right in because he knows he's super smart and he's very informed. And he leveled some great criticism about it, right? He was saying that Jeffrey Epstein worked for Israel.
that Epstein, with his little friend Ghislaine, and Ghislaine's father, Robert Maxwell, who was obviously a spy of the Israeli intelligence agencies, that there was something else going on here. Epstein was not some sort of whiz-kid hedge fund manager. Epstein was playing a part. Epstein was a LARPer. Epstein was cast for a specific role, and he played it really well. The sweatpants and the Harvard jacket, hard and above the... If you actually go into finance and markets, and you can try easy, not hard. And this is no longer just speculation. First of all, the evidence that shows that Epstein was a creation, Israeli intelligence, American intelligence, Israeli intelligence, or maybe he was just a hired gun. Maybe he was just the guy that countries would go to.
Okay, all right, let's go, Charlie. But he also was saying this kind of stuff on the TV USA stage.
You don't think there's any intel community involvement in this?
I wouldn't be surprised one bit. I am convinced, based on my own sources and my own reporting on this story, he wasn't one of ours.
Remember, TV USA, the most prominent American youth political organization. Remember, Charlie Kirk, the biggest conservative, mainstream pundit, commentator, voice. This, I mean, I hate to say it, but ever since September, this is the whole story. This is all that anyone's looking at. This is all that anyone's talking about. This is Jeffrey Epstein. And it's all the time here. And it's like, yeah, other things have happened. Yeah, there were these mass shootings. Bondi Beach, we have some questions. Bondi Beach looking a little false flaggy. We'll get there. But it's just bizarre how much everything stopped on that day and everything just turned and revolved around this question.
So he was an American, which leaves basically three options: MI6, Saudi, or Mossad.
Yep.
Which one would you choose?
I guess Mossad, given his connection to Ghislaine Maxwell.
And the crowd cheers. Because the whole crowd is based. Because TPUSA is made up of young people, young conservatives that get it. That have a diverse range of opinions, but they're all pretty based. Right? And they know what's going on, and they've just been waiting for these guys to finally crack the door open a little bit. And then there is also this
Well, character
interview that is now
And so
infamous.
I just I think it's a hyper paranoid, like we're just gonna try to, we're gonna just stamp out everything type of practice. But it goes to the point where, if for example, if I have less ability sometimes online to criticize the Israeli government about backlash than actual Israelis do, and that's really weird.
That is pretty weird, Charlie. That is very weird. We already watched this one. First bit of actual confirmation about findings of the autopsy, and they make the story even more unbelievable. If you could believe it, we'll tell you more all about that in just a minute. But the important thing is that Tyler Robinson is safe and sound in FBI custody, waiting for all the cameras to shut off and the guards to take a nap so that he can do a little bit of bedsheet origami. And we all know how the story went with you. I mean, basically from here, you're caught up. Once you get to September, you're pretty much caught up. Why? What's Barron doing? Is Barron killing it? We gotta turn Barron on? Let's check in with Barron.
X, we'll be doing some spaces in the near future over there. We'll be doing some live streams over there. Maybe some X exclusive live streams over there as well. And you can check us out on Spotify as well.
What's up with Barron?
Real Barron Podcast. So get over there. And what I need is some people to.
Do I need to rewind a bit?
Even though they're old, even though you've heard them, put them on mute. But I need to get
Is
those
Joe
ones
back?
so we can get into their algorithm. We're a few hours away.
Probably rewind a little bit.
I think we're like 3,000 hours away.
He's quitting his job and going full
I put
time?
that thing up a few days ago and it's up to like 7. I'm going to put General Giat attack Americans. That we are all asked our opinion on this in the media. You would think it would matter. The T-tax isn't that bad. It's